So, Meth, actually, I was thinking about when was the last time I saw you perform? Of course, we met when I was still at ESPN, and the Wu-Tang Clan was performing in Hartford. A rare treat in that city. Trust me, bro. I was like, woo! Thank God we got something we got to do in here, and a dope group, a legendary group. But that wasn't the last time I saw you. The last time I saw you perform was when you were with Redman. This was the BET Awards. And you know how the Roots does the Roots and Friends concert, right?
Yeah.
And y'all was on the stage with Thought. So Thought did, he did Redman's Wild the Fuck Out. He did that.
Yes, he did.
I have never heard somebody murder somebody else's song the way he did. Like, he killed that so hard that I remember you took the mic and you were like, I don't even want to come after you
after that shit. Like, I was good. Like, Black Thought, he's been doing that for years, man. They even had me go on Fallon one time, and me and him were doing different Wu-Tang songs in between outtakes. And yeah, I just shut up and let him do them by himself. He was killing them shit. You know? Yeah,
no, he's probably my favorite, one of my favorite MCs, like the Roots. Like, I was a day one Roots head from 1992 on. Like, so seeing that special moment with the three of y'all on stage, it was just really, really special. And I love it when they do that, when they bring other people on and y'all just vibe off each other. It's just like really great.
They got a lot of love in the hip hop. They got a lot of love in the hip hop arena, man, you know, because I mean, just respect-wise, period. They got a lot of love in the hip-hop arena. And Black Thought has always been one of our premier lyricists and thoughtful people, i.e. the name Black Thought. Yeah.
It all goes together.
Yes, it
kind of
does.
reminded me of where I wanted to start with you, because there's so much to talk about, what you're acting, what you're doing on Power Book 2. I love that your characters kind of despise. This is so funny to me. And playing that, and of course your fitness journey and other stuff. But I wanted to kind of start with rap because you know, I know you're asked quite often about best MCs, top 5, all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You yourself could be included in any of those lists, but taking yourself out of it, who's a name that doesn't get mentioned whenever we're having this endless best rapper ever conversation that should be mentioned?
Ooh.
Or rarely gets mentioned?
Inspector Deck, definitely Inspector Deck, man, because Deck has set off some of Wu-Tang's or ended or been on some of Wu-Tang's biggest records. Cream, Triumph, the list goes on. Dang, I mean, you know what? They cover a lot of bases, and that top 5 has been a lot of really flimsy lately, you know what I'm saying? And but you have some people that are creatures of habit, and of course the Jay-Z's, the Biggies, the Nas's, and from the next generation, the Kendricks, the J. Cole's, people like that come to mind. But now we got so many new cats coming out. I don't think you can have a top 5 really. You'd have to wait like another 20 years in order to like solidify a top 5 MCs, or maybe just do it annually, I guess, something like that, because it's ever changing. And that's the beauty of hip hop music, that the growth has never stopped. Even if the artists have, the growth hasn't.
Yeah, I mean, it is. We set ourselves up because it's just people we refuse to kick out of the top 5. And it's not, you're not kicking them out because they don't deserve to be mentioned. It's just things change. Like basketball players, we do that all the time. We change the list, right?
Yes, we do.
There's going to be some holdouts. Like a lot of people, like they ain't never let Michael Jordan go. And I'm not saying that they should. But
and that's
the fact is, it is a discussion now about like where LeBron belongs in that top 5. Those change, but for some reason with music, we just don't have that. We just don't want to let go.
We like to think of ourselves as the gatekeepers, and the reason why people take music so seriously is because it reminds them of moments in their lives. You know, maybe it changed the perspective, or a lost love, or just anything that brings you back to a moment where it makes you think. So like, and all your inner thoughts just come back, and you either smile or it makes you cry. And that thing there, you want to preserve that as much as you can. So when you hear something that goes against the grain, you tend to think, okay, well, this is in my, and you fill in the category music, you know what I mean? And it gets to a point where if we all felt that way, there wouldn't have been a Prince, you know, because Prince didn't exactly do urban music. Prince did world music. He could go pop, he can go soul, he could whatever he wanted to do. So where do you put an artist like that if you have gatekeepers that say, no, That's not the way our music is done. No way.
The good thing, I think, where Wu-Tang has an advantage is that we don't see hip hop groups anymore, right? And so we have to be stuck with certain groups. Like, you know, my 4 favorite groups, they're not changing. It's gonna be Wu-Tang, The Roots, NWA, and Outkast. Like that's not gonna change because we don't see groups anymore. Why do you think that is? What happened to the hip hop group?
First of all, that's a strong ass list. I think what happened to the hip hop group, Wu-Tang might have happened to the hip hop group, but a lot of other things come into play also. And what I mean by that is Wu-Tang's had a unique record deal. Like when a lot of MCs say they changed the game, it's more of a, it's not really, it's more of just a saying. It's superficial. But when Wu-Tang said it, it really happened, because when we came in as a group with the option to sign as solo artists. Now, that was unheard of back then, because at that point in time, a lot of record labels did not want to work with other labels. It's basically you're cutting your money in half. And to see this deal actually go through and to have these record labels working together for our cause was unheard of. So now you have these groups that come in as groups, but they want to sign as solo artists, and they're literally coming in asking for a Wu-Tang deal. Like, that's the name of it. And I think that when you do have all these solo artists and you try to come back as a group, you have a bunch of solo artists trying to be a group now, and sometimes the cohesion isn't there, especially if you all didn't grow up together and you were thrown together, something like the Spice Girls or something like that, you know? But over time, you can tell who lasted, who didn't. I like the way Lil Wayne did it, because Lil Wayne put together like a Super Friends. You know what I mean? Like a Justice League of hip hop. You know what I'm saying? He got his Wonder Woman with Nicki. He went and got his Superman with Drake. He was Batman, you know what I'm saying? And just started adding all these little elements and things of that nature. And if history shows anything, the fact that these guys are still around is very powerful.
When you think about what hip hop looks like today, what do you think, or how do you think Wu-Tang Clan would be received if they came out in present day?
Oh man, they'd be like, we'd probably be looked at like Griselda, because those guys, I think they embody a 90s feel, but with a modern day swagger to it. I take my hat off to those guys, because seriously, like, it was to a point where I get everybody wanting to have a wave and be on a wave. And even when I started listening to the music, I was turned off by it at first, but then I started to get it as my kids explained to me, you know, exactly what vibing is, and, you know, all the little words that they use now and stuff like that. And I started to get it. It's like, okay, it's melodic. It's basically sing-songy. This is what Old Dirty would have been big at right here. Okay, I get it. But the lyricism part of it is what threw me off. And now, damn, I never forgot the question, really.
Well, I just asked you how you felt like Wu-Tang would be greeted today by today's rap fans.
So the lyricism gets lost in the shuffle. So you get a Wu-Tang up in there, and a bunch of lyrical guys and things of that nature. You know what? Long answer short, yes, we would be received very well, because nobody has ever seen anything like that before.
So I did a podcast. I agree. I did a podcast with Vince Staples, and he sort of, you know, he represents this age of music, obviously, and you know, he said something to me, because we were arguing, because he said that he didn't think like Tupac's Dear Mama would slap now. He was like, that shit wouldn't slap. And I was like, son, we just gonna have to fight this. You know what I mean? But I understood what he meant, in the sense of, I don't agree, but he's just like, if you listen to how the cadence and just how much slower rap sounded during that age, now it's too fast. And so I would look, yes, it's very like boom, 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 boom. So as an artist, I'd love to get your opinion on that. You know, well, given that, do you think a lot of those groups of yesterday that we love would be unsuccessful today because of the sound not being the same?
I think that there's a niche for everybody right now, because you do have certain groups that sound like that era of music. You had those pro era guys with Joey Badass and them. Just let me say this, Vince Staples is a fucking genius, first and foremost, lyrically, in life, everything, you know what I mean? And he's very opinionated, and I love that guy. He's one of my favorite artists. But you're always gonna have these debates, and it all goes back to where, and I hate to say old school, let's just say classic hip hop, to where it is now. These kids have this mindset where we still remember the Reagan era, they can't even recall it. They grew up with Obama. So they only knew Obama, and now they have Trump or whatever. So the whole mindset is different. It's glamour and glitz over everything else. Whereas when hip hop first presented itself, I'll give you an example. Kids would run up on me and say things like, you an MC? Let me hear a rhyme. And I spit for him. Yeah, he an MC. Nowadays, it's you an MC? Okay, where your car at? Where your house? Where your big chains at? You ain't no rapper. You ain't no real rapper. You ain't got no money, you know? And it's the flash. And I'm not mad at the flash because you need that flashy stuff. You know what I mean? Where would the game be without a Jay-Z and a Nas, a Biggie? You know, these niggas would not know how to dress. Pardon my French. You know? So, I mean, you need all of that, especially, I like to relay it to boxing because you need a flashy boxer that everybody's going to hate on because they're going to show up because they want to see him lose. Then you just need those real gruff dudes that just come in there and whoop ass. It all balances itself out. You know, you can have this or you can have that. And when those two worlds meet, you just want to see who's going to win.
What's so interesting looking at the narrative and the story arc of Wu-Tang Clan, which is obviously still going, is, you know, you guys were gritty, are gritty as fuck. And yet white people love y'all. Like, I mean, there's a part of me that's just like, this is so perplexing. I mean, good music is good music. And I'm not saying that hip hop right now is very much powered by white fans, but you all in particular, you got to have an acquired taste for hip hop to love the Wu-Tang Clan. Is it just as surprising to you to see just how cross-cultural your fandom is?
Well, I think a lot of it is attributed to how well received we were by the Black community, which always makes others very curious. Like, what's going on over there? What's all the racket? Then when they get their hands on the music and they actually give it a chance, it's like, oh, okay, now I see it. And those fans, not taking anything away from the youngins nowadays, but it's fast food to them. There's always a new artist, this, that, and the third. But those fans from back then, including our Black fans, they held on to that stuff in their souls. So it's like they want to, I mean, that music is so relevant to them today that they want to play it for their kids. So their kids have it's them like trying to tell them, this is your music education. This is where you should start at. If you're going to listen to anything, listen to this first. It's the same way they are rabid about when grunge metal was out and even heavy metal. And those guys were straight bums. They dressed like bums, but they were gazillionaires from music. You look at freaking one of my favorite bands, Metallica. Yes, Metallica. Yeah. I mean, you see those guys, they ain't got the big chains or none of that. You know, it's grungy. And Wu-Tang defined grunge. If you could call it grunge rap, let's call it that. Grunge hip hop. That's exactly what it was. So we were the Nirvana of our time. It's okay. Now, RZA, I get what he was striving to do when he did the American Saga thing. He wanted to keep the Wu-Tang name relevant. It was our 20th anniversary, or 25th? 25th? Yeah, 25-year anniversary in the game, and a lot of things were spinning at the time. Smart dude, he plays chess. He got us a series deal, but his idea was to have this series play out over seasons. I couldn't see it because it's like, even New Edition only got 4 episodes, you know what I mean? You're talking about like 8 episodes for like 5-6 seasons. What are we doing? And long story short, it's a lot of embellishing, but it's good to have something like that to watch, especially to show the kids, but you got to do a lot of fact checking, As far as Of Mics and Men, I thoroughly enjoyed that documentary. Mass Appeal did an excellent job with that. I thought we owed the fans that. They needed to see that, to know exactly the ins and outs of what was going on in that era and how we were dealing with just a new life and a new lifestyle and being in a group of guys and the turmoil that comes with that, as well as the goodness that comes out of that, you know? And even for us to sit down and just be present again, all of us in the same room, just present again and revealing things that some of us didn't even know about each other, you know? It was great. It was great. I thought that something, it went a little far with some things, but all of that shit in there needed to be said, and I think the fans deserved it.
You said you just said that there were some things that you learned that you didn't know, or maybe it was some feelings that were exposed that you weren't aware of. Like, what were some of the things that you didn't know, or some feelings that came out that you were unaware of?
Well, the one thing that stood out the most is that Master Killer, whose actual government last name is Turner, is a straight descendant of Nat Turner. Blew my mind, you know what I mean? And I believe they have some lineage to Marvin Gaye also. That blew my mind. Yeah, it's something else in there, but I can't think of it off top. But I know there's some things in there people didn't know about me, you know, with the lacrosse thing and maybe even the comic books or the shelter. And like I said, it's not easy revealing and opening yourself up to people like that. I'm telling you, I didn't give everybody everything. I was still reserved about a lot of things. But all in all, it was a great documentary. And would I do it again? Hell no.
You wouldn't do it again.
No, I would not do it again. Hell no. A lot of ugly things came up out of that. But like I said, it was something the fans deserved to see when you pull that curtain or behind the curtain, you know?
Yeah. I mean, you lived through so many interesting periods in hip hop. And of course, you know, you lived through a very ugly period, which is the supposed East Coast, West Coast rift. As somebody who had friends on both coasts, who was cool with both camps, when you think about that time now, sort of what comes to mind and like, what's your perspective on it now?
Well, anybody that was there that was in the know knew that it wasn't a East Coast, West Coast thing. It was this camp versus, well, it was really just Pac and Big had their dispute on whatever the truth was, and only they know the truth. The East Coast, West Coast thing came about from media, hip hop media. I guess they love drama. It's the same way that there was an era where native tongues, that was Jungle Brothers, De La Soul, people like that. You had PE, KRS-One, You Must Learn, where hip hop shifted and these guys were pushed out. And a more gangster sound, which I'm not mad at because we needed that for the times, was flooded into the market. So a lot of the messages and things of that nature got swallowed up by this crop of just, we're going to put you all in this light here, this gangster shit, and we're going to run with that. We're going to silence these teachers and bring in the thugs. I don't know if I said that right. But we're going to silence the people over here that are teaching something, and this is the message that we want to bring. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. You go ahead. Finish your thought.
And at that point in time, you know, this is how Wu-Tang gets in the game with a protect your neck. But once we got everybody's attention, you get a song like Cream that talks about the ills upset lifestyle. All right.
So do you feel as if hip hop then was a little more nuanced than it is now?
Well, I think the artists had a lot more creative control than they do now. I mean, in a sense, the record labels, they go wherever the wave is. If there's money there, that's where they're going to go with it. And if your brand does not fit that shift, then you get swallowed up at the end of the day. And then it's like they pay you no attention. It's like a girlfriend that's a gold digger, and once you're not hot anymore, she doesn't answer your calls anymore with no explanation or anything. That's a record, or that's what it is. That's the record industry right there as a whole. It's like that gold digging ass girlfriend. As soon as you can't make any more money, it's like on to the next.
Well, I do try not to sound judgmental of today's hip hop because, listen, it might be some point I'm going to have to explain to my kids. I don't have any, but like if I had some, I had to explain to them how much I love Bitch Better Have My Money by AMG. Which they got might have the coldest opening line in hip hop history. Ain't nothing like that, but like that might be the coldest one, right? It's like, whoa, we right here. It's 0 to 100 right back. I was like, so I can't say shit about today's music because I'm like, God knows, like that I used to listen to.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So as somebody who's a father, like, have you had those conversations with your kids?
No, I
about
avoided those. I avoided those actually. No, seriously. It's never really came up. The kids have always listened to the music we listen to the same way we listen to the music our parents listen to. So, I mean, those issues never really came up. It's something about urban kids that grow up in urban homes. They know the difference between outside and inside. Whereas like certain things that happen in the house stay in the house, and they kind of get it. You know what I'm saying? So, no, I've never really had that problem. I've never had to go up to school because my son was doing gangster shit at school because he heard it in a in a song. Nah, that's never happened. I like to think I'm a better parent than that. Jesus.
or repeating some of your lyrics, I guess.
This is
like
true.
they know better. Right?
But you know what? For like 10 years now, and I'm not going to even hold you, I haven't cursed on a record as far as verses. Now, the lead in, I may say a little shit here and there before I start rhyming, but as far as the verses, no. And that was by choice. I was asked to write a verse without curses. And once I did it, and it still sounded hard, I was like, let me see if I can continue doing this and if people will notice. And nobody noticed.
You're right, until you said it. I didn't notice that you hadn't, right? Huh.
Now, they're talking about verse of the year on a record I did with Conway, and there's not a curse word in my verse at all. No N-word, no B-I-T-C-H's, nothing. And that's incredible to me. And a lot of people didn't even notice that I didn't curse in the verse. But to answer your question, I mean, I've sat in the car basically with my mother-in-law and listened to some of our records come on the radio and was a little cringy in the car. You know what I mean? You know, so I get it. I get it. You try sitting in first class with the Wu-Tang Clan. Those flight attendants did not know what hit them because our sentences end with and shit. So imagine what everything that's said before that and shit. You know what I mean? So they ain't never felt nothing like that before at all.
I bet they haven't. All right, listen, we're going to take a quick break. Believe it or not, a half hour just flew by that quickly. I got more I want to ask you about, definitely get into some acting stuff. And, man, I ain't going to let you off this podcast till we talk about your sorry-ass Jets, man. Like, I feel like I need to pray for you because if you still a Jets fan, like, how? I don't know. But you hanging in there, though. So we'll have to definitely get some sports talk in there as well because I know you're a big sports fan. Anyway, more with Method Man when we return on Jemele Hill is Unbothered. We spent a lot of time in the first half talking about hip hop. Now let's pivot to one of your other passions, which is comic books, right? I appeared on your podcast, your Marvel podcast. Yeah, where you go knee deep. Look, for any comic book fans that are listening right now, like this is not Meth's podcast is not a surface level comic book podcast. You dive in deep into the comic book world and going over characters. And when you surprised me with one of the writers from Silver Surfer, I just lost.
Yes,
that was really great. So I truly appreciate you doing that. Recently in the news, they talked about how Black Panther 2, not out until 2022. They've made the decision not to recast T'Challa for Black Panther 2. What do you think of that? I mean, I know what your origin story says, but what do you think of that?
I think it's all due respect to the memory of Chadwick Boseman, and a lot of people are, like I said, creatures of habit, and they don't want to see anybody else play the role. But honestly, and I'm not speaking for Chadwick Boseman, but I would think that if he was here and he was not able to do that part, he would not have a problem with someone else doing it. With that being said, I love the direction that I think they're going in. They're going to focus on the city of Wakanda as a whole and the people. And it's going to be interesting because Ryan Coogler, I mean, he's incredible, man. And they need to bring my man Michael B back. Bring him back, you know? I mean, they did the snap. He has to be one of the people that came back.
I mean, they could definitely do it. And I think it probably was maybe a little bit to their surprise that Killmonger became such a fan favorite, to a lot of people. And so that would be one way to approach it. Now, you've been collecting comic books for a long time. How big is your collection now? Well,
I would say 20,000 to 25,000 books. Yeah. Okay. But, it's been a while since, especially when the pandemic hit. A lot of places closed down. So unfortunately, my comic book was one of those. My comic book store where I went was one of those. But I can still get them I can still get them digitally, but it's not really the same. I had stopped reading the books actually years before that. That comic book shop got shut down because I was actually getting them digitally. So I spent a lot of money at Marvel, a lot of money, double at times. So
right. Well, it's kind of like they paying you back because you got the podcast.
Yeah. But I mean, we're talking about from an 8-year-old to 49. I eclipse anything they could pay me right now. They'd have to give me like a contract for like 6 movies to pay me back all the money I spent with Marvel, and I'd do it again.
So what was it that drew you to comic books in the first place?
I think the characters. Any young male at that point in time, father absent and things like that, needed something to identify with. They have identified with the crowd they were with and the things that they did, or they, who knows, became delinquents. Who knows? But for me, the kids, I was always lucky to have great friends that did interesting things, from sports to comic books to MCing. Just lucky that way, I guess. And the books just, what can I say? The stories taught me how to read better, taught me words that I wouldn't have known if I hadn't picked up the books, gave me a moral code that I didn't know I had. And a lot of us that read the books have this inner moral code that we don't even notice, but it kind of pops into the forefront at times, especially when we watch certain movies. We're always vying for the good guy or the villain. And at the end of the day, we just want that happy ending for everything, or for the character that we are placing our focus on at that time. And that's just like life, man. We just want to win at life. So I get it. It's dope.
So you, you and I both were in Luke Cage. You were playing yourself. I was playing myself. So we both have that.
We're in the MCU.
We're in the MC universe, right? We're there. But what comic book character would you love to play in a movie?
Well, I really was pining for Bishop, right? And whoever gets that role, they're gonna freaking kill it, Laz Alonso. Anyway, Adam Brashear is also a character I like. The Blue Marvel has a very interesting story. But as time goes on, I had a conversation with Idris Elba, and there was a rumor going around saying that he was going to play the next James Bond, which I thought was big. In my head, it's like, wow, we're about to diversify the James Bond shit. But when I approached him with it, he was more or less like, nah, mate. If anything, I want to create a new character. Bing, hit me in the head. Why not? I mean, Marvel is it's such a big universe. Why not create new characters of diversity instead of gender swapping or, whatever it is? Create new characters and introduce them into the MCU and give them as much focus as you would the old characters, or even put them with the old characters to give them a nice start, and we'll work from there. I would love to play a new character that Marvel creates, or DC for that matter. It doesn't really matter to me, as long as I'm adding on to something that makes that young kid 6, 7 years old, like I was, or how old was it? When did Star Wars come out?
Oh, geez. I think it was 1980.
No,
79, 80.
77,
okay.
78, something like that. I know I was young and I went to go see it in the movie theater. I lived in the Bronx at the time, and for years I wanted to be a Jedi Knight. But there weren't any black Jedi Knights, so it was a far-fetched dream. So imagine that young kid that went to go see the Star Wars later and had Sam Jackson in there, and all he wanted to do was be Mace Windu. He's like, I could be a Jedi. That's what I'm talking about right there.
My wonderful producers, Brandon and Rich, let me know it was 77 that Star Wars came
I was
out.
right. I was right, huh?
See? You was right. I was like, was it 7? Because I was trying to think of when I first went to see Star Wars. So I was like, how old was I? I just remember crying because Darth Vader was way too scary for me.
Yeah, he was. Yes, he was.
Especially at that young age. Okay, so what comic book character or what comic book or character would you most like to see a movie made about?
Ooh, man. Wow. Dang, they need to. Well, I think they're doing it now. I want them to give the Fantastic Four their just due because they're a major part of the
I
MCU.
agree.
And a
Yeah.
lot of the way the world works, I know they put it all on Tony Stark's in the MCU, but Reed Richards is nothing to be sneezed at. And not only that, I mean, those are basically like the four elements of the world. You got fire, water, air, and wood, right?
Hmm.
Okay. I don't know which one to be wood, but the air and fire and all that, yeah. But that needs to be done justice. I can't wait. And they've never done Doctor Doom right yet, so I'd love to see that.
Yeah, I mean, there are some ones that got made. I would even put one of your favorite characters in there, like Ghost Rider. Like, y'all could redo that
Yeah.
one.
They could definitely redo that one.
Yeah,
Shout out to
do
Nick
that.
Cage, though. Shout out to
Yeah,
Nicolas Cage, though. I thought he was going to kill it, and he worked with what he had, but it is what it is. It is
it
what it
is what it is. I mean, just like Incredible Hulk, they haven't gotten that movie right yet, right? Haven't gotten it
is.
right yet. I
Close.
was like, I
They
feel
gotten
like
close. Yeah.
they've
Yeah.
gotten a little closer. I feel like they got close now because they have the guy. And like, I
Yeah.
love Mark Ruffalo as Incredible Hulk, but
Yes.
they just have never been able to get a really good movie. And that's like too big of a character and too major of a character for there not to be a movie
Yeah.
that it's like, okay, this is worthy of what a Hulk movie should be.
You are right. And Mark Ruffalo, not to cut you off, but Mark Ruffalo definitely has the chops to tackle the Bruce Banner persona because Bruce is at war with himself on the inside. That's the whole deal about the Hulk. It's like someone who's schizophrenic who all of a sudden switches to another person when they can't handle the truth. I just seen a documentary about that too, but that reminds me so much of that. And I'm sure Mark Ruffalo would do his homework enough to snap on that dime where it's like, he doesn't even need the Hulk makeup or anything. Just show his face and he can do it without that. Such a great
Yeah.
actor, man.
He's really good. Ed Norton's a really good actor. He played the Hulk, and I was just like, man, I just knew that was gonna work. But he was great. But the movie itself, it was just like,
I've never seen Ed Norton do anything twice. Part two,
Yeah.
anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So he probably won't come back. Let's talk about your acting career. Right now, you're playing Davis MacLean on Power Book 2, which returned in early December.
Yes.
I cracked up because a lot of Power fans really hate your character.
Yeah, they do.
Very, very polarizing.
Yeah.
Does that surprise you that so many? I know he's not supposed to be a good guy, but like, are you surprised by the response to your character?
No, because I'm on the I'm on the inside looking out, so I know he's polarizing at best. But all I can tell the fans is stick around. You never know what can happen, and you're either going to like him more than you already do, or you're going to hate him even more than you already do. But Davis MacLean is such a fun character to play because there's so many different layers to this dude. You know what I mean? And right now, for me, my favorite parts to do favorite scenes are the courtroom scenes. Not only because, of course, I get a lot of dialogue and I can show my acting chops, but the atmosphere alone, it's like there's no way you cannot be in character when you're in this setting. And Courtney and those guys in that writer's room, man, thank you a lot for making me look so smart.
I read something that you said that, of course, everybody has seen you, play more grittier characters.
Yes.
We see you play the gangsters and do that kind of thing. But you said that those were roles that you personally thought. Now that you have played this particular role, and I know you've had others, but has this maybe opened even your eyes about the type of characters that you can play?
Yeah, but I don't want to jump too far into the lake before I take enough swimming lessons. Let's just put it that way, But this was a great time for a role like this to come up, and a great cast and a great place to do it at. If this was Philadelphia, I don't know if I would have took the part because Denzel murdered that. You know what I'm saying? But based off, and not taking anything away from Power Book 2, but based off the fact that I know this audience, I'm a little bit more comfortable doing what I do up there on screen because I know they'll understand it if no one else does.
Yeah. Keep it real though. I mean, should Tariq be alive? Like, he should not be alive, man. And I love Michael Rainey. I ran into him one time out here in LA, and I was talking to him. I was like, "You're so good," and I feel so bad because I constantly wish you were dead.
And he is a great kid, by the way.
Great
if you meet
kid.
him, great kid,
he's so
man.
Sweet
So
and so nice and so talented.
Yeah, you get it though. Yeah, I mean, people want him dead, but the fact Tariq, if this was real life, he'd definitely be in jail. He'd definitely be in jail, and somebody probably kill him in jail because he knew too much. But I love the fact, and you can't kill him because we wouldn't have a show. But I love how Michael is. I love how Michael is handling himself this season. And the last episode, I don't know if you saw it or not, episode 7. I literally saw Ghost when he was. I saw him shifting on that dime and becoming a different person right there on the spot. And it was like, holy shit! Either this dude has a great fucking coach, or he's fucking gets it, or both. And I think it's both. He gets it and he has a great coach. Michael, my hat's off. I mean, he's our leading guy and we're behind him 110%, but you're right, Tom. He should have killed him. He should be in jail.
Hell, his damn daddy should have killed him.
His daddy, yeah. I mean, he's responsible for a lot of, well, not a lot, but he's responsible for some deaths on that show.
Oh yeah. Raina, I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? So it was, I thought that on Power that no character could be hated more than Holly, but I was like, she surpassed that.
Oh, right. And how do you surpass that? And she was annoying as hell. It's
she
like,
was. I mean, I
ratchet ass Scotty.
Right. Never been so happy somebody got choked out before. I was like, I feel awful saying that, but I was like, God, I'm so happy.
And that's a tribute to the actress. We're not trying to
It
kill
totally is.
She did an excellent job.
She did her thing. So I read somewhere that, is it true you passed on a role in Girls Trip?
Yeah.
Ooh, were you supposed to be like a love interest type of?
I was supposed to be that a-hole guy that Michael Coulter played him, I think.
Oh yeah, yes. That was
that character.
Yeah, Regina Hall's husband.
So when I read the script, I was like, I feel like I got to take a shower. You know, I was like, I couldn't relate to the guy. It was somebody, like, I like characters that I feel like I can hang out with, good or bad. I feel like I can hang out with them. But this dude was like, ugh. I didn't like him. I'm sorry.
He was phony.
I just didn't like him.
And I did not. Regina Hall.
See, and I did I turn down the role or was I in the audition? I can't remember exclusively, but I just know that it wasn't my piece of cake. And I think they got a great pick. Michael did an excellent job. I think they did well. They did well. So, great picture. I'm mad that I passed on it, but not mad that I passed on that character. Yes.
You see how much money that movie made, and it's
Will
gonna be a part 2.
Packer is a bad man. Will Packer is a bad dude. Let's just say that.
Yeah. Oh, that well, you know, we were talking about Power a second ago. I mean, it's not that I didn't know that she was capable, but I have to say, Mary J. Blige, man, she like scares me in this. Like she is not fucking around.
My only thing is if they'll just let her at least show her children love one time, like embrace them, just because she be balking on it, like she be in their ass, and Diana got to go to her room every 5 minutes. It's
I know.
Yo, but she hard body on this, man, and I love her character. People love that family. They going nuts over Woody. Shout out to Woody the Great.
Yeah.
They love his character. I mean, it is what it is, man. Courtney know what she doing up there. 50 know what he doing.
100%. I listened to your video podcast you did with Talib on his People's Party, and you said that you didn't want to release Y'all I Need to Get By. Is that correct? Why? As a single,
I did. As a single,
yes.
Yeah, because I didn't want too much focus on it, and in my eyes, all the guys that tried to be sex symbols fell off pretty fast. I mean, for real, you know, with the exception of maybe LL, because LL is that's my idol, by the way. Can't do no wrong. Don't nobody say nothing bad about LL. But
you talk about a name that doesn't come up in that best rapper ever conversation. His name does not come up as much.
He's in mine.
He's in yours, right? As much
he's
as
in mine.
Okay,
sure.
But go ahead, continue.
But anytime a rapper took that route, and you know, and I'm not gonna name any names, but anytime they took that route where they was talking to the females, they lost the appeal of the guys because it felt like they were pandering to a certain audience that didn't include the fellas, even though the fellas show up to they don't just show up to the shows to see you perform. They know the honeys is going to be there, so they going to show up. That's why you see dudes at BBD concerts and, you know what I mean? And so on and so forth, whatever. I just didn't want to fall into that category. I liked the grimy space that we was in, the grungy hip hop space that we were in. And I didn't want to step out into the forefront as somebody's sex symbol. And the song wasn't about that anyway. So when it was presented, I was like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready for that yet, you know? But like I said, these record label people, they're very smart. They may be shady, but they're very smart. And they knew what they were talking about. And Leo Cohen has never lied to me ever a day in my life. I don't care what anybody has to say about Leo Cohen. That dude never lied to me. He always gave it to me straight up too. A lot of love for Leo Cohen.
So I hate to be the one to tell you this, but I feel like but even though you didn't try to be a sex symbol, you have been put in that bucket anyway, whether you like it or not, because most of my girls, when they heard who I was interviewing, I was like, y'all don't give a fuck about anybody else I interview, but all of a sudden I say nothing, man, it's like, whatever. So I hate to tell you that you're still in that category. Does that feel kind of, I don't know, how do you put in perspective the fact that, despite the fact that, no, you are not known as a dude, you're not like known as like a Drake or whatever, right, that women kind of put you in that category?
I ain't gonna lie, it's a kick in the head. I like it. I mean, who doesn't like to be admired, you know, especially to feel attractive? I mean, it's a great feeling, but in the same breath, I like to say it like this. It wasn't something, that's why the All I Need record was what it was, because it didn't feel like I was trying to be in that light. And the sexiest thing about being sexy to me is not trying to be, you know? And I think people, because you ask my kids, my kids hear shit like that. They're like, where? Sexy where? This nigga? This motherfucker? Really? But, but you take it all in stride, and I don't know, man. I'm bashful, I guess. I don't know. You try and put yourself in a comfortable space and say, okay, well, I earned that. It wasn't just, I didn't pine for that. I didn't try to, prostitute myself to make girls like me, take my shirt off at every show type of thing. It just happened progressively, and I like that.
Yeah. But look, don't act like you didn't give us breakups to makeups, all right? I mean, granted, you did give us breakups to makeups. Now, granted, that was not, when people, if they remember the lyrics, it wasn't a song that actually was highlighting us necessarily.
No. But everybody know a girl like that. Come on, everybody now. That's why they liked it. They love a girl like that.
Yeah, no, that was definitely a bop. So speaking of taking your shirt off, you have gone on an incredible, you like that transition, I know. You've gone on an incredible fitness journey that you brought people in on. And it was really interesting to find out how it started. It basically started out of insomnia, right?
Yeah.
So I think you said you've only been working out like for 3 years. Is that right?
Yeah.
Like hardcore dedicated? Okay. So what have you kind of learned about yourself during this journey?
I'm a warrior, baby. That I'm more disciplined than I ever gave myself credit for. And I think it's showing in my lyrical ability now and everything. I learned to slow down, take my time, focus on the things that really matter to me. I focus so much on, being safe for the clan and, Redman and various artists on the side here and there, but never left anything for myself. So now I'm leaving the majority for myself now and little bits and pieces for everybody else. So when the working out thing got to where I lost the anxiety about going to the gym and the headaches and the throwing up, and once I got past all of that right there and hit my stride, it was like, wow, if I can do this, anybody could do this. So who can I inspire next to get their ass in the gym? You know what I mean? To not even just get there, just to get up that day and take a walk, just to start that down that road to perfection, or not perfection, because none of us will ever be perfect, but down the road to just greatness and building up yourself.
Yeah, I imagine on this journey, you probably had to give up some foods that maybe you loved.
No,
what food?
Actually,
no,
no.
You didn't. You did not. Okay. All right.
That's the beauty of macros. You set your daily calorie rate and you measure your protein, your carbohydrates, your fiber, and your fats. And all of that, your intake adds up to your overall calories. So I could pretty much eat anything within my calorie intake and my protein, carb, fiber, and fat intake. So yeah, everything's on the menu. Shit, I had Skittles last night. You know?
Well, yeah. Well, that's even more encouraging to know that you didn't really have to give anything up. It sounds like you just modified and
yes,
moderation.
And that is the key. If anybody tells you, the majority of it is the weights or the majority of it is the cardio, they're lying to you. The majority of it is the nutrition. Once you have a great nutritional regimen, everything else is going to fall into place. And that story I was telling earlier about the anxiety and the stomach and the headaches and all that, about going to the gym and should I go today, and that thing, second guessing myself, left once my diet changed. And I started to see better results way faster, and the weight dropped, but the strength stayed. That's macros.
So you're working out, what, 5 days a week?
5 days, yes.
Okay,
yes.
5 days a week.
Each body part. A body part a day. A body part a day.
Body part a day. Okay. Yes. What's your least favorite body part to work on?
Legs. Legs.
Why do men hate the legs?
You know what? It's not even that. It's just that testosterone build up and all that, and just the sensation that you get. I'm starting to love legs now because I'm up to 315 on the plates, and I am so. I've been working on legs for 3 years. Okay, let me just keep it a buck. And if people could actually see my legs, they would see that they match my form, right? But you put videos up and you can see that my legs fit my form, but there's always the random comment like, but what about legs? But what about legs? But what about legs? Don't skip leg day. Don't skip leg day. Then you go to their profiles and they got a donut in their mouth and they, you know what I mean? So it's like, so you start to put up the leg day workouts and they still say, what about legs? What about legs? It's so freaking frustrating. It makes me want to do legs every day. And just post videos of just doing legs. Trust me, y'all, I would never be able to get up 315 on the squat if I was not doing consistent leg day. Damn it.
That's right. Tell them about it.
You gotta do legs, man. You have to. That's how you get stronger. You kidding me?
You were an athlete, still are an athlete, I think, especially given the way that you're working out. And it is, I saw that you said that, because people have suggested that you should have played yourself on Wu-Tang America Saga, and you're like, no, I couldn't play my younger self. I'm like, dude, you look the same. You look the same. They can give you some beard dye. It's fine. It's all right. They can do you like they did Will and Gemini Man. Man, you can do this.
I love that. But then I'm taking a job from an actor that probably could have fed his family with that check. So I'm glad Dave got the part, even though Dave didn't need the money. That mother flossing. Right? Exactly. I like Dave. Dave dope. Dave is dope. Good job too, Davies.
But where I was going with that is that you're a big sports fan.
Yes.
And you're a Jets fan. And right now, they're still a little winless, right? They are barreling towards being added to the collection of winless teams. So, so how will you feel if they do go winless this season?
You got to look at these things optimistically. That's a first-round draft pick, right? Right. How can we screw that up? Let's do some Jet history of how they've screwed up first-round draft.
Anyway, do you want the history?
Yeah, I already know. Trust me, I know it. It doesn't matter who we pick in the first round. Yeah, it does. But the New York crowd is going to boo anyway. That's what we do. We boo
even if
everybody.
It's Trevor Lawrence, because that's what y'all want, right?
Yeah, we do want Trevor.
Yeah. Okay.
But you know what? I think Adam Gase has had a hard run of it. Especially the pressure that was put on to him when he first got there. He had all the pieces. Injuries happen, ladies and gentlemen, but there have been a lot of questionable decisions in play calling, with that
like
team
the all-out
there.
blitz against the Raiders. Like, what are you doing?
It was like, like I don't like
it was hard not to say the conspiracy theories are right. It's just like, who does that?
a noise came out of me that I've never heard come out of my body before. And it's like, why though? Why? You and the defense hasn't been that bad in these last 3 games. Let's give credit where it's due. But why? Why would you?
Yeah.
I love the Jets. I'm a longtime Jet fan because one, I'm a Long Island kid, and that's basically Jet and Mets. Period. You know what I mean? And just the mystique of the Jets. It's like that green and white or that green and black it just make me want to get out there and tear somebody's head off, you know? We're home of the New York Sack Exchange. I mean, we had Benny Testaverde, we had the Big Tuna, we had Keyshawn Johnson, we've had Rob Moore, Long Island Zone, who I grew up with. I mean, what are we doing here? Because there's been a lot of times where we've had all the pieces in place and just could not finish. When we had Mr. Sanchez.
Some call him butt fumble, but we remember him how we remember him.
And if we can all get over the butt fumble, let's look at his stats. He was pretty good. In the beginning, he was pretty good, but then like you said, people don't pay attention to injuries, certain pieces of the puzzle that get moved around because of injuries, and he started getting his ass kicked. You know, he wasn't the hardest guy in the world, and I mean, those first, I guess, 2 seasons, he didn't get hit as much, but when he started getting hit, then you seen it come out. And when you're playing Jet football, you got to have some kind of grit to you, man. You know what I mean? This is the home of Richard Todd. This is the home of Boomer. You know what I'm saying? You can't come up in here with the, you know what I mean? Butt fumble and all. You just don't come in here and don't be tough. Period.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think if I'm not mistaken, you guys made it to the AFC title game with him. So
yes, we did. He was great. He was great. But then, like I said, the people started putting paws on him that next season, man. And it's like, oh, Rex Ryan also loved Rex.
Yeah. So as you know, one of the biggest sports debates that's out there and continues to be out there, and I think it'll be this way for many years to come, is Jordan or LeBron, who's the greatest ever. Where do you stand in this debate?
Can't there just be 2? You know,
that's
I mean, I get it. But like, there were people from an era where Kareem was the man. Even, you know, when Magic was still playing and Kareem had retired, and we were saying Magic was the man. Magic Bird. Everybody has, well, not everybody, because some people didn't have that dude in their era, but some people, you know, Wilt Chamberlain will always be the best that ever did it. You know what I'm saying? Some people, Kobe will always, he the best. How come he's not in the conversation? But when you get to a LeBron James and a Michael Jordan, and you start to look at the work ethic of things, and if we get into the stats, the people around Jordan contributed a lot, and he was smart enough to get them involved. That was the whole plan. With LeBron, he carried a lot of that weight on his shoulders and showed up every time, especially that Warriors series. I mean, crown him now. You know, before we lose another, knock on wood, and I doubt we lose him, but crown him now. Give it to LeBron now. Jordan was great. But LeBron is a whole different era, and I'm going to go with LeBron James, man. And a lot of people going to hate on me for that shit or whatever and shit, but stats don't lie, brother.
Okay. All right. Putting it out there. Now, before I get to the game that I play with all of my guests, as you know, as much as many of your fans love how your acting career is blossoming, what do they always want to know? Where the music at, Beth? So I know that there are some things you have coming up, perhaps in 2020 or 2021, excuse me. So what you got going on the music front that's coming up?
Well, I'm glad I can do music now because I want to and not because I have to, so I have more time with it.
Them acting checks, boy.
Yeah, that too.
Nice. You're right.
That buddy good too, boy. Havoc and myself have a LP coming out called Dirty P. That's a play on No Dirty Bastard's name, and P from Prodigy from Mobb Deep. Myself and Rockwilder are doing a tribute to breakbeat, old school hip hop breakbeats that I loved in the past. I'm redoing those records, but with totally different lyrics. Right now, what do I have in the bag? KRS-One's I'm Still Number One. Just did that one. And Ego Tripping by Ultramagnetic MCs finish that one. So it's gonna be pretty cool, pretty cool. Oh, and Meth Lab 3, season 3.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
All right. Any Wu projects?
We were working on something. I did 2 songs, but I hadn't heard anything back in months. So, you know, that's just Wu-Tang. That's how these things work.
That's how
I'm always, no matter whatever album it is, you're always going to get a Meth verse or 2 or 3 or 4 on there because that's just what I do, man. I love this shit.
Well, that's good for all your fans to certainly hear. All right, so here's the game. We call it this or that. You get 2 choices. Like you just wonderfully answered that Jordan LeBron question. You get 2 choices. You got to pick one. That's it. That's the game. Okay. All right.
Gotcha.
So don't try to weasel out by coming up with a third option. It's 2 choices, man. That's it.
All right.
So Anchorman or Napoleon Dynamite?
Napoleon Dynamite.
Okay. I didn't like the way you just disrespected Anchorman and your quick response.
I'm sorry. The Anchorman, you know, they built the world with Napoleon Dynamite. I think there's a real place. I thought that was a real place, and these people weren't even actors. They was being themselves. That's how great that movie was. And I played that for some of the biggest criminals on the block, and they laughed through that whole movie. So Napoleon Dynamite.
Unpopular hot take. Don't add me, people out there. The method's probably gonna go off on me. I did not think Napoleon Dynamite was funny. I didn't. Oh! I didn't think it was funny. I don't get it. I've tried to, and I like those kind of movies. Like I love Anchorman, right? Just like it's Anchorman or Step Brothers is probably my favorite. Will Ferrell, one of those 2, followed closely by Talladega Nights, right?
That's my favorite.
But I couldn't get there with Napoleon Dynamite. I have tried to watch this so many times. I'm like, it just ain't that funny to me. I'm like, all right, Uncle Rico, I kind of get it. Yeah, all right.
You couldn't get yourself submerged in that world, but yeah.
I couldn't get there. I'm going to try again for like the 5th time. Maybe I'll laugh.
Right.
All right. Speaking of movies, I know you're a big fan of Kung Fu movies. The Raid or The Raid 2?
Ooh. I'm gonna go with The Raid because it introduced me, you know, to some great action sequences as well as that lead actor. Man, he's dope. He's pretty dope. The little guy.
Yeah, the little dude. Yeah.
Part one. Part 2 was dope too. Don't get me wrong. They was killing that shit. But part 1.
Listen, for people out there who love Kung Fu movies, The Raid has, I think, some of the best Kung Fu action I've ever seen. Like it's
right.
And these scenes go on like a fight will go on for legit 20 minutes, and I'm like.
With no camera cut. Right. With no camera cut. Like, yo.
That's probably the greatest airplane movie I've ever discovered. That's how I discovered. I just like was going through. I was like, this looks interesting. Boom. And then a part 2 dropped. I was like, I'm in. I was like, I'm in on this. So that was pretty good. Comic books. Wolverine or Johnny Blaze?
Wolverine. Nobody has gotten. That's the Ghost Rider is the comic they give the new writers when they first come on. Here, do something with that. Same way they do with Silver Surfer. Here, go do that. You know, but Wolverine, I just love, he got so many layers to him, and he's a great character. Great character.
Would you rather win another Oscar or not another Oscar? Would you rather win another Grammy or win an Oscar?
Well, I'd have to go with an Oscar, even though that's far-fetched as fuck.
But, dude, you never, are you serious? You never know, man.
You know what? They only let people like me so far in the door. I still got a seat next to the kitchen in the restaurant, but I got a seat, and that's all I need right there, you know. But I Oscar definitely. So, and then I'd have to work on a Tony and an Emmy, you know.
Get that EGOT going. Get all of it.
Yeah, get up there with Whoopi and them.
I think John Legend has it. He has the EGOT. Yeah, he's got all of them.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
All right, and finally. The What or Got My Mind Made Up?
Tough, but The What. I actually was there with Biggie when we recorded it, whereas that record was, the one with Pac was a Dog Pound record that came about later on when Pac came home, and they were just giving him records to get his product out as fast as possible. And my hat's off to him for even wanting to still do the record, or even being, connecting with me and Redman saying, you know, I want a Red Meth record when he heard that Dre had one, you know what I'm saying? So kudos to both of those, but yeah, The What, New York shit.
Yeah, I mean, I love both of them, but you probably have my favorite verse on Got My Mind Made Up, or favorite lyric when you're like, better take one and pass, or that's that ass. Your vital statistics are low and falling fast. Johnny Blaze out to get looped like Johnny Cash. Play a game of Russian roulette and have a blast.
Hell yeah.
Like, that's my favorite shit ever.
I love that. That says a lot about your character.
Like, yes, that's right. I can only rap other people's shit. I can't rap. So trust me, at a karaoke, I'm going to kill that shit.
I already know. I love that verse too. That's a great verse.
It is a great verse. Look, you're a great entertainer all the way around, between the acting, certainly what you're doing now in the hosting space, on podcasts, and obviously in music. You're one of the legends. So I appreciate you spending this time with me. This is really great. I expect my female listenership will be up quite high because of the podcast. Thanks to you, Beth. I appreciate it. Help me get them numbers up.
Right.
But anyway,
they just want to see if I could put two sentences together. I like the way he talks.
Yes, I'm sure. But anyway, take care with everything you're doing, and stay safe and healthy, and good luck with all that you're doing. And I know, actually, look, I'm telling you, listen, you're one of your co-hosts in Power, Mary J. She got nominated for an Oscar. I'm just saying, you never know.
Yeah, well, that was a Golden Globe, but yes. And I told her ass that too. I was like, you're not here by mistake, Mary. You're here because you're supposed to be. Let it go.
See what I'm saying? Like,
and hug your kids. Hug your kids, Mary.
That's right.
Just one time. Hug your kids.
Time. Give them some love. I heard that. All right, that is mess. Thank you for joining us big time. But y'all know what's coming up next. Final segment, Fuck It, I'm Bothered.